Intertops and BetOnline are proud sponsors of this year's March Madness coverage at sportsbookreview.com.
What's up, Hoop fans? Welcome in to a brand new show here at SBR. It's called Big Man's Bracket Busters, an in-depth look at the NCAA tournament from myself and a couple other great handicappers' eyes. We're taking a look today at the first round matchups for Thursday and Friday. Again, I'm your boy, the big man on campus. All my guys are here live with me here. They're going to join me, give their opinions. We got everyone covering everywhere. We got Drew Martin down in Florida. Drew, you're not in Costa Rica. You're in Florida. How you doing today?
Big man, thanks for having me on, man. I'm happy to be back stateside. I'm happy to be next to you fine gentlemen, and most importantly, I'm happy that it's the eve before my two favorite sports betting days of the calendar year. March Madness is upon us. Happy guy here. Thanks for having me on, BMOC.
Yeah, glad to have you. You look like you're in a very festive atmosphere. Nice weather behind you. You have a lot nicer weather than we have here. Another guy enjoying great weather as well is our friend Teddy Covers. Teddy, we haven't spoke to you in a while. At least I haven't. I know you're doing your thing over at Sportsbook. Looks like your old friend Paul Howard is back. How you doing today?
I'm doing all right, BMOC. Good to see you. Good to talk to you. And hopefully we can give our viewers some good information today.
Yeah, looking forward to it. And last but not least, this guy's kind of like my husband, I guess you could say. We kind of see more of each other than our own families. His name is Donnie Rightside. He's a good friend of mine, and I'm happy to have him here. Donnie Rightside, what's happening?
Hey, good to be with you, Jeff. And yeah, maybe it didn't come off so well that we're maybe a husband and husband here, not maybe the look that we were looking for. But hey, nevertheless, I'm here. We're going to have some fun, talk some hoops here. The only thing that's going to be crazier than the tournament itself, Jeff, is the over-under on how much my Skype gives out during this hour show today.
Got to get that fixed, Chief. What's going on? You're an industry professional who's built to give out good audio and video content. You need to get that fixed, Donnie. Slap on that wrist. Let's get going here, boys. Before we get into it, I want to ask Teddy cover something. Obviously, Teddy is only in the one state in the union that you can walk up and make a bet at a betting window. Teddy, what's the feel out there right now? I know it's a great atmosphere being out in Las Vegas. How many years have you been out there already for March Madness? And then, does it get any better? Does it get any worse? How's it hanging out there?
So I moved out to Vegas in 98, in August of 98. So my first March Madness was 99. This will be my, I guess that makes this my 20th, right? Because it's 2018. So 20 March Madnesses, I haven't missed any of them. But I swear every year it gets bigger. Every year more people. I mean, there's not a room in town. If you don't have your hotel room booked, don't be trying to drive in and find something. It is packed. There are parties all over town. The action's incredible. But one thing that is really a huge improvement over, quote unquote, the old days, you have apps now. So you can bet on your phone. So you don't have to just wait in line half an hour to make a wager, which, during the peak periods like March Madness, it's tough, man. Those lines are long. Having the app makes all the difference, or having the apps, plural, make all the difference.
Yeah, I would think. I got to ask before we get into actual games. I want to ask all you guys. Teddy, I'll kind of just keep it with you. Where do you watch the tournament? Do you just watch in your office? You don't go there, do you, to the casinos?
Actually, tomorrow night I'm going to go out and about. But generally, I've got a good setup at home. I've got a home office. I got 3 TVs. With the picture-in-picture, I can watch as many as 6 games at once. And in the big dance, I don't even have 6 games at once. So most of the tournament I'll be watching at home.
Quick comment here. Big man on campus. You said Syracuse wouldn't make it. I know. I was so incorrect with that. I think the only people that thought they would make it was the actual team themselves. But yes, I don't know if you should make a max play, but we'll get into that in a minute here on that game itself. Drew Martin, where are you watching it? Obviously, you're back at home in sunny Florida. Do you have a routine? Do you watch it somewhere? What do you do for the tournament?
Actually, big man, that's a good question, especially with the situation that, kind of just living in Costa Rica and watching college basketball begins to be, it gets a little uncomfortable just with the streaming services. It's not like you're sitting on a couch enjoying the games. So that is a side note of why I made the trip back to the States, to kind of get in front and take it all in the way I know all of you probably like to do as well.
Donnie, you're one that I know a lot of the time you have these odd, peculiar ways of watching games. We actually did a live show the other day during one of the games, and Donnie Wrights had actually left the stream because he didn't want to jinx the play. So Can you explain yourself, Donnie, on what you do exactly?
Yeah, I mean, the games that I am betting on, Jeff, I will not be watching those games. Might take the dog out for a walk, but I will thoroughly enjoy every single other game that I'm not betting on because, yes, the jinx is real. Offer up the sacrifice to the gods, Jeff, and good things shall happen.
The worst part about March Madness, though, is they put all the scores up top and never take them off.
That's true.
There
It's true.
has to be a new way in technology nowadays. I actually used to tape something on the TV so I couldn't see it because I don't want to see it. But Teddy, you have to admit that's one of the great problems in America right now. The fact that they actually won't let us escape scores.
Well, it is what it is. I mean, remember back in the old days when you had like a late game, and sometimes it's the next morning before you find out that score. I mean, literally. So I'm not going to complain. I'd rather have the scores flashing all the time than have to frickin' wait around on the next morning to know if I won or lost my bet last night. I remember that from Michigan, big time.
I just don't need an up to the minute, every second score look at what the game is going on. I don't want to see it. But guys, let's get into the meat and potatoes of the show here. Obviously, that's what the people are here for. Want to let everyone know we are sponsored by the great folks at Intertops and Bet Online, two of the best sports books in the business. Make sure you're frequenting them. Many of them have, both of them have great promos right now. People are trying to get your business. Make sure you're going to some of the better books in the business, and also make sure you're visiting Sportsbook Review, making sure you're understanding what books to use, what not to use, and kind of understanding how the payouts work, and you're going with a reputable book. Let's get into the show, guys. We're getting into obviously tonight's games. You got two play-in games. One of two mid-majors, actually low majors, and then you have two of the bluer blood programs at this point in America. We'll start with NC Central and the Texas Southern Tigers. Texas Southern out of the SWAC. Again, I think the SWAC is a conference where I don't know if they generally earned this bid. Grambling didn't get to compete in this competition, which that'll go down another wormhole of what I don't want to get into. But Grambling should have been able to compete. They weren't able to because of poor athletic scores. Texas Southern, though, Teddy, I heard you mention it on Sportsbet, 0-13. Start the season. Again, when you're in the SWAC, you're going to play pay-for-play kind of things. You're going to go and get your ass kicked for 13 or 14 games. But what it's going to do is it's going to prepare you for the tournament. And second of all, you're going to make your school a hell of a lot of money. But then when you do poor in school by the end of the year, they say, you know what, you did bad in school, so you're not going to get to compete in postseason play. But hey, we got plenty of money for our program next year. NC Central, the underdog in this game, 5.5 points, 146 a total. You can find that currently at Bet Online. Quickly, guys, two schools that I have seen plenty. I had UNC Central to win the conference in the MEAC tournament. What they like to do is run zone. That's something they should do tonight. Texas Southern has had a lot of issues against zones. Their best player, DeMontre Jefferson, wants to get into the lane. He wants to dribble, penetrate. They did a nice job, NC Central, of preventing that. You have two of the best coaches that you kind of forget about, Lavelle Moten and Mike Davis here. I'm going to look towards the underdog in this game. I think Central will hang around. I think Rivas and Davis down low will present a bit of a matchup problem for Texas Southern. Teddy, I'll start with you. Do you have any opinion on this game?
Well, this much this was very clear for me. Teams, you watch these teams, over the course of the year. I haven't. I haven't. I don't spend a lot of time with the low major. I don't spend any time with the low major. So there's two teams that I'm not familiar with. One thing that I'm not willing to do is try to learn everything about a team in 3 days for one game because we know they're going out the next game anyway. So it's not even like the time that I would spend doing this.
Right.
I'm going to get 3 or 4 winning wagers maybe off of this. No, it's one game and then they're going to be smacked in round 2.
Sure.
So I haven't put, this is the time I put into this into this game enough to preview it on Sportsbet. And from doing that minimal amount of work, certainly you can understand why the under is taking money in this ballgame. What do we have? Not a significant amount of money, but nonetheless, the trend line has been towards the under. And from two teams I don't know well, when you look at the matchup, it's something that makes a whole lot of sense to me, especially when you know the way that Mike Davis wants to play. He wants to play that slower down physical style.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think they're going to have trouble kind of breaking down that NC Central defense. NC Central is one of the teams in the MEAC that runs zone. It's the right way to play a lot of those teams because if you know anything about the MEAC, they are poor shooting teams. When you can get Texas Southern, another team in a poor shooting conference, into that zone offense, it's going to be tough for them. I think both teams will stymie each other, and I do like the under, but it's a good point by you. I think this game will be probably played in the 60s possession-wise. Drew Martin, we lost Donnie, which I think the over/under for that was about 2 minutes and 40 seconds. So he's gone already. So under tickets look like they've cashed. Drew Martin, do you have anything on UNC or NC Central and Texas Southern University?
BMOC, a couple stats that stood out to me. Texas Southern 0-13 to start off the season. Like you mentioned, the first 0-13 team to make the tournament. They had to play teams like Ohio State, Syracuse, Kansas, Clemson, Gonzaga. So you got to tip your cap to who they went out and played. Now on a 7-game win streak. So you can see why they are favored in this one. But I get your point of NC Central, the Eagles. They come in, they won four games, 5 days in the MEAC conference. And also, one reason I tried to get on the underdog with you, I haven't yet, BMOC, last year they played in this play-in game. So it gives them kind of a little advantage in that aspect of prepping for the game. So that's one reason to like NC Central as well.
Yet another reason you can mitigate your bad shooting at times is rebounding the ball. NC Central's done a nice job of doing that. But Teddy makes a great point. I mean, you have two teams here that obviously aren't going to win any other games in this tournament, and they're really just playing for pride and then to say them to themselves in 20 years, hey, little Joey, hey, your dad won a tournament game back in 2018. We beat either or. So yeah, it's two good coaches, two good programs that you kind of always see here. It'd be interesting to see how they break each other down. But I think Teddy's onto something here with the under. Let's keep it going here. Arizona State Cuse, obviously the game that I think more people will be interested tonight. Listen, we can try to continue to talk about how Syracuse shouldn't be in this tournament, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter at this point. They're in. It's not like they're going to disappear because people don't want them in the tournament. And I think they're going to use this as a disrespect kind of thing, Teddy. It's something that they've used in the past. Jim Boeheim can reference and say, look, a couple years ago, remember Malachi and that team? We didn't get deserved to be in that either. And we made a little run and made it all the way to the Final Four. And look, I'm not interested really as I look at this game more and more at Arizona State. They're another team that has major trouble against zone defenses. Obviously, we know Jim Boeheim runs a zone, and I've said all season, I think this is one of the better defenses he's had because he has big, athletic guards that can they're really going to bother you. They have long arms. They're good defenders. And we all know at times their MO at Arizona State is to dribble, penetrate as well, and get to the free throw line, neither of which Syracuse is going to oblige. Drew Martin, I'll start with you. This is pretty much a pick 'em. The problem I have in this game is I'd like to be getting some points here at least with Syracuse. I mean, they basically just need to win the game at this kind of number. I wish I was getting 4 or something. I'd be a little bit more inclined. At least I'm getting something back, and I can kind of, coin flip game. I have some value. Drew, what do you think Arizona State Syracuse? Do you think Syracuse is going to play the disrespect card?
Yeah, I do. I'm looking to the to Syracuse. I mean, ASU, 13-0 versus non-conference, also beat Xavier and Kansas, 2 1 seeds. So you got to tip your cap to that. But on the other side, I like Syracuse in this matchup because of who Arizona State struggled against. You touched on it. Teams that slowed the game down, low possession games, also that played zone, is who gave Arizona State problems. You could see it towards the end of the season when they struggled, losing a bunch of games down the stretch in Pac-12 play. The secret got out. It's almost like, a rookie hitter going into his sophomore season in MLB. It's a lot of times they have a setback. They're in the later stages of Pac-12 play. The secret got out. Teams started to play zone, slow the game down. You could see Syracuse doing that. It's a perfect matchup wise for Syracuse. So to put the 2 in my pocket, that's the way I'm going. And I already bet it personally.
Yeah, I actually like that play. I think you're right. Teddy, I got to ask you, this is another game. I think when we talked about the first game, you would imagine it'd be a lower scoring under type of game. Listen, Arizona State's going to have to score in zone. Can they do that? I just don't think they can. Do you agree with Drew's point? Do you think they're going to use Syracuse? This is kind of a motivation here. They get slapped in the face, arguably again, but they find a way to get through it and get into the tournament.
This is an NCAA tournament game. I don't think either team is going to have a problem being motivated for it. You're going to tell me Syracuse is more motivated than Arizona State? I don't buy it. There are certainly situations where teams get some type of edge, and one team is up for a game and one team isn't. This isn't that game. This is a big dance game. So for as much as added, the disrespect card for Syracuse, they still got to go out there and stop Arizona State from scoring. And I thought you made an excellent point, BMOC, talking about the basic handicap of this contest, because it comes down to one piece right here. If Arizona State can hit shots over the zone, they're going to win. And if Arizona State can't hit shots over the zone, they're going to lose. And that's it. There's your handicap. So when you look and try to project, can Arizona State hit these shots? Well, the three leading scorers all shoot 36% or better from beyond the arc. Fact. Not a bad shooting team from 3-point range. They're a team that does a lot of dribble penetration and kicks out to open shooters on the baseline. That's something that, in theory, should work in this contest, even against Syracuse. In theory. But when you look at the size, and you talked about how big the Syracuse guards are. The Orange have incredible length. Arizona State has a size disadvantage at basically every position on the floor, and I think that may be problematic for them in terms of their ability to drain the three-pointers. If they're not draining threes, they're not winning this game. It'll be Syracuse that survives and advances against TCU.
Yeah, and if it's an ugly game, Donnie, Syracuse, obviously we know they're not a particularly good offensive team. They can be ugly at times, frankly. I think the under looks kind of good here at 140-ish. Bet online, I think 140. 140. What are your thoughts here, Donnie? I think you left at the right time, because I don't think you had any interest in talking about NC Central, Texas Southern. You could have just told us, and we could have just muted you for that game.
No, my Skype didn't actually go out. I actually cut it out on purpose because I didn't have any information for that game. Figured I'd dip back here on the Syracuse game. But good point you bring up. If anybody watches a lot of games with Dayton, I know a lot of times we don't, the first four is always there. Anybody notice, again, the rims there? I mean, can you imagine going back, I'm an 80s kid. So before the breakaway rims, you didn't have any shock protectors on the backboard. And it was just brick city unless you made it all net. Same thing with last night. And against the Syracuse with a matchup zone, you have to shoot over that matchup zone. It's an unfamiliar environment. I'm pretty sure Arizona State's probably never played at Dayton. Those rims are going to affect the shooting in this game, Jeff. I agree with you. If I'm leaning anyway in this game, forget about a side, I'm going to take the under in this one.
Yeah, I'm on to something with you there. Nice little advertisement there. I like that. Sounds like a little, a nice little, stapler or something. Bum, 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 bum. I don't know what that was. But yes, advertisements are good. We need those here. Guys, let's move on. Let's get into Thursday's games. Obviously, playing games can be a bit. Teddy, let me ask you, what do you think of playing games? Do you like them? Should they be called round one? I don't think they should. They're playing games. They're not first round games.
Nobody calls them round one, except for the NCAA Tournament Selection Committee. Do I like the concept of more teams getting in? I suppose. Do I think this format is the best format and we'll be talking about this format, the same format 20 years from now? Of course not. It's a stupid format and it's not going to be there forever. But, let's not forget what the NCAA tournament does. Okay. NCAA owns this tournament. They get all the money. That's where all the offices from Indianapolis come. That's where all the salaries get paid. This is a huge cash cow, and colleges all over the country use the NCAA tournament money to pay for their athletic programs. So is it ever going to get bigger? Of course it's going to get bigger because people always want more money. So the first four, do I like it? It's not bad to have action on Tuesday and Wednesday, but we'll be in action anyway in NIT.
And it also, when you look back when you're a coach and maybe you didn't coach well, you can look back and say, guys, look, I got to the first round in the NCAA tournament, but it really doesn't mean that much because it's like, well, not really. You got to the play-in game and you lost. So don't try to inflate yourself. Brad Brunell's done a great job at that throughout the years of, kind of inflating what he's actually done when in the essence he's one of the worst coaches in America. Let's keep it up. I don't want to go down a rabbit hole with Brad Brunell because I'll just bore everyone and hate on Brad Brunell for an hour. Let's get into Thursday's games here. We'll start up at the top here. I'm not going by time. We're really just going by what I have written down here. We'll start at Oklahoma, Rhode Island. It's actually the first game on the board, 723, 724. Rhode Island -2, total 157. 157.5. You can actually get 158 at Intertops, one of our sponsors. So if you like the under, you might want to head over to Intertops. Guys, Oklahoma, another team, might not belong in this tournament, but they're in. So it's time to move on. Rhode Island had played, though, slow, not great down the stretch. Kind of limped into the A-10 tournament, had some close calls. Even against Davidson, you end up losing that game. Hurley's been able to kind of rally the troops at times this year, but kind of uncertain towards the end of the year. They have great guard play. Doughton, Terrell. This is a really good group of guards, but they do lack a bit in the front court. Look, we know what Oklahoma is. It's Trae Young, and that's about it. Teddy, a lot of people are talking about, well, Oklahoma, no one's going to be on them in this game, blah, 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 blah. No one wants to back them. Recency bias, who wants to back a team that's won one time on the road all year, blah, 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 blah. This is an interesting game, fascinating game. What are your thoughts on it here at 12:15?
No, Oklahoma's better than Rhode Island. I don't know how else you want me to say it. The Sooners are better than Rhode Island. They have better players all over the floor than Rhode Island does. I'll take Kruger over Hurley in a pick'em type ball game. I have no problem fading the early money. All the early money's come on URI. And you say, well, how is Oklahoma better? What are you talking about? They're 3-12 straight up, and then you get their last 15 ball games. Yes, they are. The Big 12 was brutal. Freaking brutal, top to bottom. They've had time off to rest and recuperate. The second trip through the conference for Oklahoma after teams had seen Trae Young once was tough. Rhode Island hasn't seen him yet. Give me Oklahoma plus the points.
Yeah, I don't disagree with the pick either. I think Young will put the team on his back here. This is still a pretty good basketball team. The problem is, Donnie, that for many weeks they just can't get any sort of cohesion. No one else is going to step up. I do think Teddy's right. I think at position to position, I think Oklahoma is a better basketball team. But Rhode Island, again, also a team in a poor league. I mean, the A-10 was very down this year, maybe pretty much other than Bonaventure. You've seen this Rhode Island team a lot, Donnie. What do you think here?
Yeah, it's not so much to me if I'm going to bet this basketball game based on Rhode Island versus Oklahoma. The one thing that we've said time and time again, even Jeff going back in the roundtable discussions, Oklahoma at home, I'm going to buy on that game. Oklahoma on the road, neutral court, out in the atmosphere somewhere, I don't want anything to do with that ball club because what I want out of my team is that senior-laden team that's going to be gritty and grimy the same way you saw last night with St. Bonaventure match up against a more talented UCLA team. Same type of atmosphere, same type of situation. And again, if it's Oklahoma, if we're playing Oklahoma in Norman, give me Oklahoma. But Oklahoma anywhere else but Norman, I'm not buying on that team.
Yeah, I mean, they've looked gutless at times this year, haven't they, Drew? I mean, what do you think here? Teddy likes Oklahoma. Donnie likes Rhode Island. What do you think?
Yeah, but gutless is a great word, BMOC. And to tell you the truth, I don't have a lot of interest in betting this game. I'm not involved in it so far. But gun to head, I lean with Donnie, and I'll take the points with the Rams.
Keep in mind, Oklahoma 335th in the country defensively. That's another story as well. Teddy, real quick, as I kind of move on to the next game, you're not concerned about Rhode Island really just zeroing in on Trae Young and saying someone else beat me here.
This is what I like to do in March. Okay. I like to take statistics that are nonsense, like Oklahoma being one of the worst defensive teams. Oklahoma's not a great defensive team. They're not the 335th worst defensive team in the country.
They're really poor. They're really poor.
I got a great quote from Lon Kruger talking about how on the games where the shots were falling, the young team didn't react very well defensively. It had very little to do with their defensive schemes. Lon Kruger is an excellent defensive coach. And I think when I look at Oklahoma and I watch them play, they've had some ugly efforts, gutless efforts, no question. Big 12 is tough, So you say, am I worried they're just gonna stop Trae Young and no one for Oklahoma can do anything and Rhode Island's gonna run them out? Of course you're worried. Do I expect that to happen? No. I think that Oklahoma's the better team, and I think that they were simply worn down, grinded down in a brutal conference, and that getting out and facing a team that's a little bit more fast-paced, maybe it helps them a little bit.
Yeah, it's a fascinating game. Obviously, we have differing opinions. A lot of us. I actually, at the end of the day, I still agree with Teddy. Though I think that we'll find a way.
Yes!
I think I think the public will back Oklahoma here, and I think Rhode Island back Rhode Island. I think Oklahoma's kind of a recency bias kind of thing that we have to go away from. They still have the best player on the court. Let's move on here. NC State Seton Hall, another interesting game here. One of these. What's this? An 8-9 matchup or 6-9? 6? What is this guy, Donnie? 8-7-10 matchup. 8-9.
8-9. I believe it's an 8-9, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Seton Hall 2.5 total 157. I've discussed. I like Seton Hall a lot. I think this is a really good basketball team. It's a team filled with seniors. It's a team been here before. It's a team sees the press a lot, sees up tempo styles. Like Kevin Keats has done a nice job at NC State. He's come in there and done a total 180. To difference what a coach can do at a school. Even losing Dennis Smith last year, even losing what they lost, they still found a way to have a real nice season. They're going to press. Seton Hall sees that, though. They've seen it before. I need Desiree Rodriguez, though, in this game. I need his ability to handle the basketball. I think Delgado will kind of neutralize some of the bigs for NC State. I think Seton Hall, if as of weekend doesn't play and they find a way to win this game, I could see them even beating Kansas. I think they're a gritty team full of New Yorkers that just know this stage. Willard knows this stage. I go Seton Hall here. I'll lay the 2.5. I'm going to start with Drew Martin. Drew Martin, what do you think about Seton Hall, NC State?
BMOC, as far as a side goes, I'm not as interested. I'm more concentrating on this total. Be really interested to get your guys' opinion as well. You know, it's two teams with early exits from the respective conference tournaments, time to rest, fresh legs. Both teams defend the three fairly well against better competition. Both struggle from the free throw line, and both top 100 defensive efficiency teams. I know the pace will get up and down, but those three main points, I think, point towards the under. When you start talking 157.5, you know, to get up into those numbers, a lot has to go your way to get up and over that. So I have a personal bet on this under, NC State Seton Hall.
Yeah, it does look a little bit high, doesn't it? Donnie, what do you think here?
Yeah, and I mean, Jeff, I'm going to take off. I mean, we watch a lot of Big East basketball, obviously being from the East Coast. But the one thing you can agree on, the Delgados, the Rodriguez, the Carringtons, Jeff, they've been through battles over the past couple of years. The Big East
Right.
in the Madison Square Garden. No shame to the big stage in this one. And when you look at NC State, you're right. Keats coming over from Wilmington. Very, very good coach. But still instilling his game plan in there, getting used to the players. I know it's been a whole season. But if I'm looking at a team that said, you know what, we've been on the big stage before, NC State technically underperforming the past couple of years, give me the team that's battle-tested. I'll lean on Seton Hall here, Jeff.
Teddy, you agree?
Here's the question. Are the Seton Hall Pirates the Buffalo Bills? You know what I mean? The Seton Hall's been in the big dance each of the last 2 years. I thought they had the better team, and they should have won a game, and they didn't. Slap, slap, going home.
Yeah.
So now here they are, another pick-em type game against another opponent that they're not going to physically be able to outmatch by any stretch of the imagination. In a tight game, you know, this, I mean, generally, you love the senior squads. But given the history of Seton Hall and the recent history of Seton Hall, I worry about them in terms of their ability to close out a tournament game. I don't think there's any question about that. Now, if Seton Hall gets past the first game, I think they're live to make a run. And they're a team that nobody's talking about with those four senior starters. But I don't know if it's going to be easy to get past NC State. You know, NC State's no joke. That being said, if I'm playing, I'd be laying.
Well, Teddy, me and you, we're going to lead the charge on Seton Hall. If they get past this game, it's you and me with the Seton Hall Brigade.
I'm with
We'll
you.
head
with you.
head up to Newark. I'm in. We'll start the brigade. I'm all in on this team. But you're right. I mean, last year against Arkansas, if you remember that game, there was a notoriously bad call in that game. But yeah, you're right. They've had trouble closing games. Not a great free throw shooting team either. But Desiree Rodriguez is probable. That's a big point to have him in there. He did miss senior night last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever that was.
And
Let's
let
keep
me
it
jump in
going here,
just
guys. Yeah, sure.
Oh, I was just going to jump in real quick. It's worth noting the senior-laden teams that aren't having a great regular season. A lot of times February is just dog days. Seton Hall played like that a lot in February. You know, this is a team that's been looking at March. It's about January 15th or so, and now March is here. So oftentimes you'll see that step up from teams like Seton Hall that we're just kind of going through the motions for the back
Sure.
half of conference play.
Good point. South Dakota State Jackrabbits, a team that everyone seems to love. And you talk about a team that's done exactly nothing. It'd be South Dakota State. All I've heard this week is how great South Dakota State is. Listen, there's no more bigger proponent in the country against Mike Dahm than me. I love the kid. I think he's a tremendous talent. I think as he goes into his senior year, he will break some unbelievable records that no one knew that he could break and that he's going to break. But you're going against a team, Ohio State, who is much more athletic, is really on another level. Is Mike Dom going to be able to handle guarding Keita Bates, Diop, and Wesson and Tate and all these different guys? Not to count, you look at any step-up game South Dakota State played in this year, they got their doors blown off. I mean, they also struggle considerably against good offense teams. Teams really kind of can score on them at will, really. The thing is, though, they have played more as a team lately. Dom hasn't been the only one contributing. Tellenhuisen's given them minutes. Jenkins, Key, Flatten, all those guys have given them minutes and played well. You saw that against South Dakota. I'll ask you guys, South Dakota State getting 7.5, 8. They look like one of these trendy 5-12 games. I don't think there's any way they win this game. Does anyone think they're going to cover? Just quickly say, yes, I do. Anyone?
Yes, I do.
Okay, explain.
Knockdown threes, free throws over 76%. They don't turn the ball over.
That's a very good point, though. That is actually, and if you follow me this year, that's actually precisely what I do look for. I just think the athleticism is going to be a bit too much late in this game.
Yeah.
Teddy covers. Are you on board with me, or are you on board with Drew?
Am I on board with you? I don't know. But which game we talking about? Ohio State. Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry, I got distracted. I'm getting text messages over here because apparently there's something wrong with my screen. But Ohio. So who are you? Who do you like? And who did you like? Okay.
I'm leading I'm leading Ohio State. I think athletically, and
I'm with you.
Just kind of at every.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm not. I mean, look, the Jackrabbits. They played some teams early, and some of them were competitive. They got blown out at Kansas. They got blown out at Wyoming. They beat Buffalo on neutral. They beat Mississippi at Mississippi. They hung tough against Wichita. You know, they took Colorado to overtime in Boulder. I mean, they have had a handful of good-looking performances. That being said, you cannot, and people do this every year. They take a look at what somebody did in a non-conference game around Christmas, or when they got there, the kids are taking exams, or they're they're taking finals, or it's Thanksgiving, the week after Thanksgiving, and they say, oh, well, look at this win they had back in November, or this loss. That makes a huge difference. Oh, my God. And it's nothing. It was one random game way back when one team wasn't focused and all that. So
right.
A lot of times I take what's the schedule and people, oh, well, we have the schedule in front of us. Oh, we have the results in front of us. I take a lot of that with a grain of salt. I have seen the Jackrabbits play. I don't think they can play with Ohio State. I think Ohio State they have been an undervalued commodity. And they were a team that didn't play their best ball down the stretch, but they're good. I mean, that is a good basketball team. They're capable of winning. They're capable of winning by margin. And they're capable. One thing that Ohio State's done all year, huge runs. They're down by 6 at halftime. Go, oh my God, what am I doing? And then boom, like a 23-2 run. They seemed like they had a run like that game after game after game. That's what the Buckeyes did. I think they do it again here.
And luckily, and I'm not sure if anyone knows this, but they're not playing Penn State in this tournament. So I think they're going to be okay because Penn State was seemingly the only team that could figure them out all season. Donnie Rightside, what do you think here? Are you agreeing with Drew or are you agreeing with Teddy and I?
Yeah, it seems like the trendy upset pick, though, is South Dakota State in this one. Jeff, line opens up, somewhere around 7.5, staying at 7.5. All you hear left and right from the media, this team can hang with them. But when you play in the Summit League, Jeff, you get the open looks. You can beat your man. You can stay in front of your guy. The one thing you're going to notice in these type of games, Jeff, when you get out-athleted, you no longer get the 50-50 balls. They get more offensive rebounds. They lock down the glass on defense. It's going to be tough because one time when you can penetrate in your league, and like, man, look at this. We can penetrate and kick out for 3, all of a sudden you can't beat your man. That's what's going to take place in this. That line movement not shifting at all. Everybody talking about the Jackrabbits making a run in this one. I don't see it.
Yeah. Drew, you're on your own here. Sorry.
Hey, that's the way it goes sometimes.
Yes. But yes, I agree with Kevin White here. I do want to make it clear. Mike is a great player, Dom. He's going to do his thing here. But I think for them to win this game, he's going to have to score 40 points probably. And look, will I put it past him? No, but I don't see it. Plus, Donnie, they're going to get some calls probably a little bit more than South Dakota State will as well. Let's keep it going. Iona Duke, and then we'll get into Friday. Actually, 2 more here. Iona Duke. This is quick for me. And Teddy, I'd like to hear your opinion and all of your guys' opinion here. I think this total is a bit too low. Iona, as we know, MAC team. Tim Cluess always does a great job with recruiting guards. Always has a great stable of guard play there. I think they're going to just penetrate to death. Even that zone. I mean, I know Duke's run a zone lately, but I think we'll see a lot of garbage time in this game. Duke probably will have a pretty commanding lead. Iona plays little to no defense. Marvin Begley should have a huge game here. I mean, Iona has little to nothing down low other than TK Adoji. And Adoji, if you get him in foul trouble, they have nothing. Iona's had tough matchups the last couple years in this tournament, and they seem like every year they get jumped on quickly. Duke should press probably 90, 95 points in this game. I think you'll see a lot of garbage points, though. Iona is a good team, Donnie, late in games, kind of filling it up when nothing matters. They did it last year against Oregon. I think they'll do it again here. Duke, as we know, great shooters, do a nice job really everywhere offensively. I think they have a huge game on offense here. I think Iona could fill it up late. Teddy, is this total a little too low, or are you looking at a side? You laying a big number here.
I can't play any Duke game over the total. I mean, the numbers are shocking. You know, if you've seen Duke since they started playing that zone defense, all right, it's been pretty dramatic. Let me get the numbers right here. 74-52, that went under 163. 66-57, under 145. 82-56, under 154.5. 60-44, under 143. 64-63, under 153.5. Note, I'm talking all these games in the 60s, and the totals are in the 150s. You know, all of them went under by 20 or more. Against North Carolina, the regular season meeting and the game in the tournament, both under the total. Duke's zone defense is freaking nasty right now, and I think Iona's going to have a very hard time with it. I like the favorite, and I like the under.
I guess, and I think that's a really you make a great point there. I guess I'm really just kind of banking on the last 10 minutes in this game. I think Duke will kind of call the dogs off a bit, if you will. I think they'll be up fairly large in this game, as you're looking at them just not having any success early against that zone. But I'm kind of hoping the last 10 minutes produce a ton of points. Donnie, you know what I'm talking about, those late garbage minutes. But Teddy makes a good point. This zone is on fire right now. Can Iona shoot over it?
Talking to me?
Donnie.
I mean, Iona can shoot over it, but here's the problem with it. You're going to run a four-guard offense, similar to almost what Jay Wright does, who used to coach at Iona. Cluess is a great coach, but Jeff, when you beat your guy off the dribble in the Metro Atlantic, who are you running into? Casababe from, Fairfield out here? No, you're going to be running into Bagley and Wendell Carter in this game. It's going to be hell on wheels for them to get to the rack. Every single point they score is going to be a tough one here. But you're right, Jeff. In the NCAA tournament, it's survive in advance. Doesn't matter if you buy 1, 10, 15 points. You want to rest your starters. No injuries is key because you're playing 2 days later. Your good point that you have, Jeff. If you want Duke here, you probably should take them first half, maybe up 10 to 15 points, if they do play well. But I don't want any piece of this 20-point game because with Iona, I love Iona, Jeff, but I love them in the Metro Atlantic. Let's see if they can get over those big athletes, 6'8", 6'9", 6'10". Good luck getting into the rack when your center plays at what, Jeff? 6'7", 6'8"?
Yeah, no, you're totally right. Another great ad from Intertops, one of our sponsors. Drew, you're last but not least here. Do you think Iona can score enough? Do you think they can put some points on the board here?
Yeah, tidbit here, BMOC. You mentioned Iona's had some tough matchups the last couple years. Actually, they have the most NCAA tournament appearances without a victory. But as far as talking this total, 157.5. Yeah, with Duke moving to the zone, a lot of the points that Teddy said, it doesn't make me point towards the over. As far as a side, I mean, laying 20 points. Were you inferring that makes you want to bet the over with such a big spread? It would actually make me look to bet the under.
No. I'm not inferring that. I'm just saying that, to me, I think there's a lot of points scored late in this game when Duke kind of takes their foot off the gas here a bit. No, I'm not.
So let me jump in real quick. I mean, there's one coach in all of college basketball that has a really, really strong track record for second half unders when he's got a big lead. That's Coach K. If Coach K is up 20, you bet the second half under, and that's long term, that's been a really positive expectation wager, especially in a tournament game. If Duke has a 20-point lead and there's 10 minutes left, you might not see any points scored the last 10 minutes. Duke is going to take the air out of the ball, and Coach K is going to rest his guys. So from that aspect of it, I'd be very leery about expecting late points in this contest, unless it's a close game and unless Iona gives them a game.
You know, I will tell you, I don't like a lot of people in this business, but I do got to tell you, sometimes Teddy covers Drew. I got to say thanks for it. You know, you really took me off this over. Maybe I might just have to get off of it. We'll see what
And
happens.
then I watch it cash by 30 points.
Right. So I might just stay with it. But no, you all make great points here, and this is why we have this show too. Kind of, we all try to provide points that maybe people don't know of or don't have the time to find. You got some real good points here, guys, with this stuff. Maybe I'll look into the under here, or maybe just stay off it totally. Who knows? But Duke's advancing. Let's be real here. Iona never wins in the NCAA tournament. Let's keep it going. We got one more game on Thursday. Probably the most interesting game to me on the card. Loyola, Miami. Loyola, Chicago, a team, the darlings of the MVC. And I've said this for a couple weeks. This team reminds me of that Butler team that took Duke to the NCAA tournament title game. I'm not saying they're going to do that, but I'm saying they do resemble those MVC teams of old, the Creightons, the Northern Iowas, the Butlers, the early Wichita days. They just come across to me like that. No one knows one player in their team, but by the end of the tournament, you're going to know an Ali Farouk-Manesh. You're going to know a Matt Howard. You're going to know a Gordon Hayward. You're going to know someone like that. And they look like that team. They're very efficient defensively. They're very efficient offensively. They're one of the true teams that can do well on both sides of the basketball. Have some good wins this year. Beat a pretty good Florida team back when Florida had just come off beating Gonzaga. This is a good basketball team, Teddy. And I got to ask you, I mean, Miami, a team that I kind of keep tabs on just because, when I was, last year, I do know Lonnie Walker. I know Jaquan Newton. They're from Philadelphia and from Reading. So I kind of always kept tabs on them. Bryce Brown might be back, but he won't be back for this game. This has the look of an ugly game, a low-scoring game, but a game that I think will suit Loyola pretty well. A lot of people like Loyola, but for good reason. What do you think about Loyola?
I just like the Ali Farouk-Manesh references, man. That guy was awesome. How do you say his name? Yeah. Nice.
Ali
well done.
Farouk-Manesh.
Yeah. Blast from the past right there. Loyola has some gaudy stats. I said at the top of the show, what do I want to do? I want to look for teams whose stats are lying because the stats are going to influence the betting marketplace. And Loyola has really good stats. Offensive efficiency, number 8 in the country. Defense efficiency, number 25 in the country. Impressive. You look at their non-conference resume, you say, wow, this team went down to Florida and won straight up. They beat the Gators. Yeah, Loyola. We're walking around Vegas. Everyone, Loyola. In the sports books, Loyola. This is the team that's getting all the love right now. Okay, they are the number one trendy underdog in Las Vegas. And the point spread's telling you, -2. Miami -2. Loyola's getting all of this love. The game against Florida, which is the only game against anybody this team played all year, came right after Florida had just played. Was it Duke and Florida State the previous 2 games? They lost them both.
Right.
They weren't up for that contest. I'll just put it that way. And yet, oh my God, they went to Florida. They won in Gainesville. This team, I'm not saying they're not tough. I'm not saying they can't win. I just think this point spread's wrong. I think Miami should be favored by more. So,
and they also
Hurricanes in this one. And on Sportsbook, we used Miami as the play of the day for Wednesday. I think Miami is priced too cheaply. There's too much love for this underdog in the markets right now. I'm not buying Loyola being that good.
I think you make an interesting point about the Florida game. Let's also keep in mind they won a Missouri Valley without no Wichita. So, I mean, it's not like they had beaten Wichita and did all this great stuff. I mean, the MVC was fairly poor this year. I mean, Illinois State was down. They had injuries all year. Northern Iowa was horrendous. This new team, Valpo, came in. They were down. I mean, it's not often you see Northern Iowa and Valpo in the bottom of the conference. Bradley struggled on the road. Missouri State just fired Paul Lusk. Evansville was down with injuries. It wasn't a good conference either. And Teddy, you make a fantastic point. That Florida game was at a bad point in the season. It's not like they went in and beat a hot Florida team at the time. You also remember they get crushed by Boise State. Just they don't really have a ton of great wins, but they are very efficient offensively and defensively. Donnie, what do you think here about this game?
Yeah, they're going to slow the game down. It's one of my favorite teams, Loyola, all throughout the season. Made a lot of money with them, but you're right, Jeff. It's not the normal NBC that we're used to. We're going to go toe to toe in big environments with Wichita State. When we take a look at this basketball game with Miami, ask me this question, Jeff. I love Clayton Custer. Shoots the three, gets the team in the right sets. But ask me one question on this. Have they seen anybody all year long as fast as Chris Likes is going to be a point guard, to be able to dribble, drive, penetrate in, kick out? There's NBA talent on Miami. Again, it's one of those games where, Jeff, I wish nobody looked at this game was reversed and just saying like, oh my goodness, Miami's going to run roughshod over this basketball team. But the more you keep hearing about Loyola Chicago, which I love this basketball team, the more I try to look at Miami and build a case. And then when it just goes down to talent versus talent, Likes is going to do whatever the kid's 5'7". He's not going to run down and dunk on anybody, but he's going to run that offense and penetrate and do whatever he wants down there. And then you're going to have the guys down low, Dewan, Jules, 6'11", Izundu as well, 7-footer there. It's just too much talent. And again, Jeff, we're not saying with this game, hey, Loyola, hang within 10. No, you're basically saying, Loyola, you better win this game if we're going to cover.
That's my problem here, and that was my problem with Syracuse as well. I want to take these dogs, but and in this case they're kind of in a little bit different point spread range, but still I'm not getting 9 points. I'm not getting 7 points. I'm not getting 3 possessions. They need to win the game. Drew, you've seen Miami. Lonnie Walker. I mean, he's on another level athletically than anyone on this court, really. Then Loyola sure as hell hasn't seen a player like him. What do you think here? Are you going to rock with Loyola? You're a pretty loyal guy when it comes to your picks. You don't really delve away from what works for you.
Yeah, that's true. I try, if it's not broken, don't fix it. And yeah, I'm about 20 minutes from Miami. I would just go with the point, like you guys are all touching on. You got to remember to bet numbers, not teams. And in this price range, it's just almost like the market's getting a little too cute. And I do agree with you guys. I think Loyola can win this game. However, I point towards the total in this one. I think you guys alluded to it. 133, kind of pointing towards the under. I think Jim Larinaga concentrates on the fundamentals, one and done type basketball, back on defense. I could see this thing falling short of 133. I personally bet the under in this game.
Yeah, I think you're kind of on the right level there, Drew. I think this will be an ugly game. Both real good defensive teams here. Let's move to Friday's action. We'll start up at the top. Butler, Arkansas. This one goes at 310, 871, 872. Butler, 1.5, 151.5 in a total. Really everywhere. Donnie Rightside, you backed Arkansas a couple times at home this year. You know how good they are at Fayetteville. We all know how good Butler could be at Hinkle Fieldhouse. They beat Villanova. But that's the problem. Both these teams, very good home teams, questionable on the road. Butler, I love Keelan Martin, Baldwin. This is a good basketball team, but Arkansas I like Mike Anderson a bit more. I actually think this game will go over the number. Two high-profile, high-offensive caliber teams. I think this will kind of be like a typical Big East game that we saw this year. Donnie, do you agree that we'll see some points? 151 seems a bit low, doesn't it?
Yep, I'm a big buyer in the tournament, Jeff, of taking points and taking unders for the most part. But if I'm going to look at an over, Jeff, this Butler-Arkansas game certainly has my eye. If we're looking at Arkansas in a situation, I always want them at Bud Walton. Tough place to play, electric crowd. They do tend to play there. But the one thing I like about this team and the way they're coached, Jeff, score doesn't matter to them. And I try to explain it to people. If you watch Arkansas play, Jeff, they're up 5 points with, let's just say, 2.5 minutes to go. If they have a wide open three with 26 seconds on the shot clock, they're taking it as opposed to running clock. Butler on the other side, Jeff, we've seen them play a lot this year. It's one of those teams a little bit softer defensively, but if you give them the open looks, they're going to be able to make it. I think Arkansas is going to try to push the pace. I think there's going to be points in this game. And again, Vegas, the world all sure expecting a close game. What you want to get in this one, maybe a 1-2-5 point game with 2 to 3 minutes to go, get some of those fouls. This is the one game I will be leaning towards the under here, Jeff.
Teddy, what do you think?
I mean, my concern in this point spread range, when you're talking about unders versus overs, is that if it's a one possession game, then you don't get any foul in the last 2 minutes.
Right.
And in general, with the point spreads at 2.5 or less, I tend to anticipate less scoring in the final 2 minutes of the game than I would in a point spread, let's say between 6 and 9, for example. And the long-term math really shows that. So I'm not necessarily looking at the over here, but I mean, what's Butler done that's impressive? I was impressed with the SEC this year. I thought the SEC was deep. I thought Arkansas was competitive, and I thought that was a bet on basketball team. I'm not sure that I'm buying the same thing out of the Big East. And certainly I think Butler, from a point spread perspective here, is a little bit overvalued.
Yeah, you guys are hard sells on overs this tournament. I've noticed. I don't think anyone said overs yet. But you're totally right. Late in the game, you obviously hope for those, those last 3-4 minutes of fouls, and you may not get them in a close game. Drew Martin, what do you think here on Butler, Arkansas?
Yeah, you're right. I tend to look towards the unders this time of year, Jeff. It's just, especially one and done type of basketball. But I'm actually with you in this game. I mean, Arkansas, Butler, we're going to get some pace in this one. Arkansas can knock it down from 3, and 67% free throw for Arkansas. But Butler makes up for that, 77% from the free throw line from Butler. So I think that Butler free throw percentage plus the pace we're going to get, it would make me look towards the over, and also towards Butler just in the discrepancy of the free throw percentage.
Yeah, I definitely think Teddy's onto something, though. I mean, Butler, they struggle on the road and they've struggled against the number too. I'm gonna just, for the sake of it, I think the total's too low. If it's 157, maybe I'd buy in, but I think at 151-ish, I still think pace wise and everything like that, two pretty good offense teams. I think we'll see kind of a more typical Big East game as opposed to an SEC game. And Arkansas was a high scorer this year. Keep it going. Bucknell, Michigan State. Bucknell, another team around this time of year that we kind of look to maybe grab an upset. One thing you can say about Nathan Davis's team, they definitely try to prepare themselves. They challenged themselves in the non-conference to the point where they were getting beat pretty badly in games. I mean, you got crushed against UNC, lost at Arkansas, played a Monmouth team who I know didn't play well this year, but it's still a good out of conference game to go and play. They've been good the last couple of years. They played Vermont, they played VCU, so pretty solid teams they played early in the season. But you ask yourself, do you trust Michigan State against the number? I mean, they've had trouble, frankly, all year covering. I've had my issues with Michigan State all season. I don't look at them as a top team just because I don't think resume-wise they've done enough to really impress me. Their out-of-conference schedule was incredibly poor. They were in a Big Ten this year that overall wasn't very good. Teddy, I want to start with you here. Big number here. You're looking at pretty much 14.5 across the board at all the books. You got 148-ish on a total. Can Bucknell hang around? I mean, Nana Fallon's a great player. Stephen Brown. But again, athletically, this is a bit of a mismatch, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not a game that I have a strong opinion on at all. I will say this, that the sharp money's coming on the dog here in Las Vegas and offshore. And there's certainly those out there who like the Bucknell side of the equation. Part of that, of course, is that you have the potential of Michigan State to catch them looking ahead a little bit. And part of that is the fact that Bucknell has shown that they're tough as nails. So, but realistically, this isn't a game that I'm even close to making a wager on. So not one I'm going to waste your time with.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Donnie, what do you have? Anything on Bucknell, Michigan State?
I think Bucknell should be able to compete in this ball game. I don't like Michigan State's guard play that much. And again, it's 14.5 points. We're not asking Bucknell to hang around late 5 to 6 points. I think they might be able to get the cover if it stays around 15 points. Because again, survive in advance. They're not looking to blow anybody out. If you're going to be up 15 points with 4 minutes to go, what do we know is going to happen? Jeff Bucknell is going to keep their starters out there because this is what they played for all year long. They should be able to knock down some shots as the time dwindles. Give me the points in this game.
Drew, do you have anything? Bucknell, Michigan State?
I mean, I guess just what you were saying about Michigan State, BMOC, I actually like Michigan State to maybe make a run in this tournament because they can control the pace of the game, play efficient defense, and also they have scores towards the end of the game. I know that they struggled ATS in the Big Ten, but which is the reason I'm staying off of laying this kind of double-digit number here against a solid Bucknell team. But at the same time, I could see him, winning by 20 plus. So I don't have a wager on this one.
It's a concern just because how many times this year we see Michigan State just have to come from behind and win a game. They seem like the cardiac kids under that scenario. 3 games, we'll rapid fire these. Texas, Nevada, one of these real tough ones here on Friday. 879, 880. Nevada won total 143.5. Truly a coin flip. Nevada, though, playing without a true point guard. They are struggling a bit in the front court. Texas with Shaka Smart. Obama's back. They've done a fantastic job this year, really, battling through injuries, all sorts of stuff. Texas is right there and in the field. This is for me one of the toughest games of the tournament. Does anyone have a legit opinion on this game, or has a way we can look? I'll kind of open it up to any of you guys.
I have an
Nevada's
opinion
got
on
NBA talent.
There you go, everyone. Teddy, why don't you start?
Yeah, exactly.
All of us
I
go.
had a feeling.
All of us go. Yeah, that's awesome. Who's it? Me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, the bottom line to me is Nevada has NBA talent. You know, I mean, they really do. A couple NBA players on that team, and I'm a Musselman believer. So Shaka Smart has at no point this year have I looked at Texas and been, oh wow, this team's really getting it. You know, they haven't. Bomba's a big deal, and yet the line upgraded to probable, and the line doesn't move. Lean Wolfpack in this one.
And Nevada very good at not turning the basketball over. Second in the country in assist to turnover ratio. I got to ask you though, Teddy, is this a bit of a homer opinion? You being in Nevada, what's that all about?
When you live in Las Vegas, you hate the Reno. When you live in Reno, you hate Las Vegas. This is that's like talking to someone in Ann Arbor saying, "Oh, you're making a homer pick for Michigan State." Nuh-uh, they're the enemy. You know, they're.
Well, I didn't know, just because I know you aren't from there originally, so maybe you kind of appreciated Nevada or something. But I know you don't really let teams kind of get in the way.
I'm a Michigan
Donnie
alumni,
Rightside,
and when Michigan played for the national title, I was very happy to bet against the Wolverine. You know, when Louisville beat them.
Fair enough.
And the title's now Vegas. So you never have to worry me making a homer call. I could give a shit.
No, I know. I'm only messing with you. Donnie Rightside, you seemed quite vocal about this game. What do you like here?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about how tough the Big 12 is day in, day out. You know, Mo Bamba's been out for a little bit part of the coming down the home stretch here. I'm just looking from an overall standpoint of a battle-tested team being Texas. They're going to slow it down, try to play good defense here. Not real impressed with the way Nevada ended the season in this one, so I'll lean on Texas in this one in a pick 'em.
Yeah, I kind of lean that way, but I think Nevada's strong too. This is a tough game, Drew. As far as a bracket, Drew, this is one of those bracket games I think a lot of people are struggling on. Teddy likes Nevada. Donnie kind of likes Texas. What do you think here?
I mean, as far as bracket wise, I don't know if I'm going to be much help as far as breaking that ice there. I concentrate on this total more so, big man. Yeah, I'm just kind of going for winners here. So Texas struggling from the line. Fairly efficient defense. Nevada, very efficient defense. And mainly it comes down to possessions and the way these two teams have played of late. Nevada, last 2 of 3 games, have less than 70 possessions. I know we normally think of Nevada as up and down, but they've sort of slowed it down here towards late. And Texas has not hit 70 possessions in over a month. So just the pace-wise, coming down to this one-and-done type of basketball in the NCAA tournament, it makes me look for these two teams to slow it down and bet the under in this game.
Plus, you could have a very close game here late. I could see a game played in the 65-ish range, 65, 62, something like that. I kind of like that play, Drew. Good point. Third time's a charm for Donnie Rightside. He is out of here, like a Giancarlo Stanton fastball. He's out of here. See you in left field. Donnie, hopefully you'll join us. 2 more games here. New Mexico State, Clemson. Teddy covers. I got to tell you, I really like this Aggie team. I love Chris Jans. He's done a great job out there. I think this team's one of the better defensive teams in the country. This is a team we've know plenty about. They're always a very good rebounding team. I remember Pascal Siakam. He went to New Mexico State, had a couple good years with that program. This is a good basketball team. Good guard play. Sidney Ndier's a load down low, and they have one of the best rebounders in the country in Jamario James, a guy that I think could really neutralize a game. I'm going to make this clear. I think Brad Brunell is among the worst Power 5 coach in the country. I think it's amazing they continue to go back to this guy. He has done absolutely nothing as a coach. He doesn't develop any talent. He recruits horribly. The fact that he couldn't attract Zion Williamson when the recruiting battle was literally won just goes to show you how gutless of a coach this guy is. Move on. Go down and get someone that can coach. This guy's a hack. He's a has-been. And New Mexico State's going to put a knife in his heart on Friday. New Mexico State not only covers, I think they win. I think they're a good basketball team. They'll slow the pace down. Dante Grantham, without him in the lineup, Clemson has continued to struggle, and this is kind of what Clemson does. They get to the tournament and fade the hell out like a DJ set at the end of a night. Give me New Mexico State. Teddy covers. What do you think here?
I remember saying that about Jay Wright just maybe about 4 or 5 years ago. You know,
Right.
Jay Wright. Oh, that guy never wins a tournament game. Every time he gets there, it's just fade Nova, easy fade. You know, and then obviously when he had the right team and he pressed the right buttons, they were capable of winning a national title and our number 1 seed again this year. So it can change. And a coach who you hate can get better, and a coach who you hate can make good decisions in a game. That being said, I don't want to lay with Clemson here. And New Mexico State is not one of these teams with 1 or 2 games where they stepped up in class in the offseason or in the preseason non-conference play. They played a bunch of step-up games, and they certainly held their own in the majority of those contests. So I'm with you. Clemson's not a team I'm excited about laying points.
This guy's been to the tournament 8 times at Clemson. Okay. Or he's been there 8 years. He's made the tournament 3 times, including this year. I just think where he is, he's got to do better. But yeah, I think you're dead right. Who wants to lay points at Clemson right now? This is a trendy upset, Donnie Rightside. Do you agree here?
Yeah, a lot of tickets piling up on New Mexico State. And again, hey, if you're going to look at opening up at 5.5, now some outlets sitting at 4.5 and dropping that to half juice. So if you want to say the public or the sharps are going in the right direction on this one, it is a trendy upset, but it looks like the line is moving in that correct direction. I don't have much on this game. I won't be betting this game, but you're right, Jeff. Clemson's not built to blow teams out. So if you're going to look at Clemson covering 6 points in that range, 7 points, they're going to have to possibly win by double digits in this one. Give me the underdog. I like taking the points in the tournament. Looks like a good spot for it.
Drew Martin, what do you think?
You know, I'm with Donnie. I take the points, and also, you know, as far as matchups in where teams are seated, New Mexico State, I think, has a great draw and a great opportunity if you're looking to kind of make a push in a bracket. As far as the weakest 4-5s, I believe it is Clemson and Auburn this time of year. Both teams are banged up. So if you're looking to kind of take a shot here in a bracket, I don't think New Mexico State going to the Sweet 16 is a necessarily terrible pick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you're dead right. I think a lot of us like New Mexico State here. Looks like one of the better plays of the show here. Final game, guys. We'll go one more here. Interesting off the court stuff here too, as well as kind of the matchup. Cincinnati and Georgia State. Ron Hunter, who I think's a real good coach. I think he's done a great job down there over the years. You got 2 coaches, I think, that are trying to poke each other here. Mick Cronin isn't a guy that will hold his tongue either. Ron Hunter discussing that, basically saying Cincinnati, they get to stay at all the nice hotels, eat at the fine restaurants, while his team eats at Wendy's and stays at Comfort Inns. You know, he's trying to poke the bear a little bit, get his team motivated. They're a good basketball team, Georgia State. I love DeMarcus Simmons. I think he's a NBA type of player. He kind of reminds me of Ron's son, RJ, a bit, but Cincinnati's a different beast. Could they cover? Maybe, because they can dirty up the waters, and that's what Georgia State likes to do. But I think we have to remember Cincinnati is a great defensive team. They're also a real good offensive team. I think that's one of the myths, that Cincinnati can't score, but they're actually pretty efficient. I'd be interested to hear what Mick Cronin has to say about these comments, but I do like some of the bloggers that travel with Cincinnati and that have been to the games. According to the bloggers, Cincinnati doesn't eat at Ruth Chris either. They eat at Chick-fil-A and stuff a lot too. So it's kind of an interesting off the court dynamic. Drew Martin, we've seen Cincinnati a lot. What do you think about this game?
I got to read the quote. It was awesome. They told us today that Cincinnati gets to stay at the Hyatt. We got to stay at the Comfort Inn. Cincinnati gets to eat at Ruth Chris. We got to eat at Wendy's. From Ron Hunter, head coach for Georgia State. So one of the better quotes of this March Madness. And big man, you know, as far as this game goes, I think you hit on a lot of it. I think both teams are going to muck it up a little bit. So it doesn't make me really want to lay points. I think Cincinnati, the way they play defense, they can make a hell of a run in this tournament. And also it makes me want to ask you guys, because you guys might know more about this topic than me. Who's actually paying for the hotels where the teams are staying? Is it the NCAA or is it each school? So they get to choose if they want to stay at a nicer hotel or a Comfort Inn.
The schools pay.
I believe it. Yeah, I believe the schools pay. Teddy, what do you think about
that?
Sure. I'm sorry?
Finish
Drew?
up, Drew.
Me?
Finish up, Drew. Drew, finish up your point.
No, I'm done with my point.
Sorry, guys.
Okay.
This lag is irritating. Sorry. Go ahead, Teddy.
It's, you know, there might have been some value on the Georgia State side of the Open, but I think you made a real strong point, BMOC, about Cincinnati on the offensive end of the basketball court. Most of Mick Cronin's teams in the last, 5 years or so, stellar defensively, can't get the job done on offense, can't hit a clutch shot under pressure, et cetera, et cetera. This isn't one of those teams. This is the Bearcats' best team that I've seen maybe since Huggy Bear left. They're not a team I'm dying to step in front of. Certainly a game where the total is likely to be extremely low. A low-scoring game is harder to build margins, and a slow-paced game is harder to build margins. I can understand why the money has come on Georgia State, but it's been enough money, and I haven't seen anywhere on Georgia State's resume, even with those great quotes, playing the disrespect card, very smart for a head coach to do that. Even with those quotes, I still haven't seen anywhere on Georgia State's resume where they can handle playing an elite level defense away from home. Haven't seen it and not convinced they can do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the knock for Cincinnati for so many years, back to the Yancey Gates, Sean Kilpatrick teams, even Lance Stevenson teams. I mean, they struggled at times to score. And one of my issues with Mick Cronin's always been, it seems like on the day of a game, they're never prepared in certain games on the offensive end. And I think this year they went out and got some transfers. Kyle Washington's been great. Kane Broom comes in and does some good things. I think overall they're a really dangerous team. Donnie Rightside, we'll give you the last point. I think you've been off the air more than you've given your points, but any opinion here?
No, not much opinion on that. But again, it just seems too many points. Cincinnati's going to slow it down out there. How bad does Cincinnati want to run the score up and win by 30 points? Just seems like too many points to me in this one.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. But guys, that's that. I mean, we went over, what are we, 12 games here? Everyone gave an opinion. I thank all of you for it. Before we go, again, this comes from the top. I got to ask you, does anyone have a game they want to give out? Best bet, play to keep your eye on. Donnie Rightside, I'm going to come to you. What do you got?
I mean, I'm just going to lean on probably be on this play tomorrow. I just like Rhode Island. I've been fading, Oklahoma and doing very well with it. Why not continue it at least one more time? Give me Rhode Island tomorrow.
The Rams. Teddy, you and Donnie were definitely on opposite sides of that one. What do you like? What's a play you are recommending? Are you going to go with a sports bit play? What do you got here for us?
Yeah, let's talk about Miami Hurricanes. I think that this price on Miami is ridiculous. Miami -2 against Loyola. Loyola's getting all this credit for one win against one team when they were distracted. I'm not buying. Give me the Canes minus the deuce. And that's the play I'm happy to release, and a play that I have in my pocket already.
Yeah, Teddy, you and I don't do much work with you anymore, but I got to tell you, that was a very good breakdown by you in that game. I think you really kind of went into just kind of going against some of this bullshit we hear about. You got to pick an upset. You got to do this. You got to do that. Sometimes it's not a great matchup. I mean, I like really
chalk
went in depth
first round.
about.
I really do. First round matchups. There's every bettor out there is looking for what dog is live. What dog is live? Oh, this dog. What upset special? That's all people talk about. Sometimes there's value on the chalk in the first round of the big dance.
Yeah, you're totally right. And Drew, before we come to you, I want to thank some of the sponsors, BetOnline, Intertops, and obviously want to thank the SBR video team for always cutting these videos up and doing a great job of getting them out to people. There will be more shows like this throughout the tournament. Want to kind of update you on that. We'll have a show on Saturday. It'll be me, Ian Cameron. Ian Cameron will join us. And Donnie will join me again. We'll also be back with this cohort next week, the 21st, going over the regional semifinals. And we'll get a schedule out throughout the tournament. It's going to be a fun bracket buster season. Drew, let's get to you last, but certainly not least. I'm sure you're getting ready to head out into the town, maybe to a nice beach bar to have a little fare, maybe a nice drink. What's the plan for tonight? What are you on for your play of the day?
Oh man, I got no plans to share, but if anybody's here in Fort Lauderdale or South Florida, hit me up on Twitter. Let's catch up. But I'm going with two teams, early exit in the conference, a lot of time in the conference tourney, a lot of time to prepare for each other. Both defend the three fairly well against better competition. Both struggle from the line, and both top 100 defensive efficiency teams. So that would lead me to the 8-9 matchup. NC State Seton Hall going under 157.5. You can find that at Bookmaker right now on SBR odds.
And I'll finish it up. I'm going to go against Bye-bye, Brad Burnell. Take it easy. Take your team back to Clemson and worry about football, because that's what you do at Clemson. You worry about football. You don't win anything in basketball. Give me New Mexico State. I'll go take them plus the I can get a 5. How about that? Bet online coming through. I'll go 5. New Mexico State plus 5. They win the game. Thanks as always to all the guys here. We appreciate your hard work and hanging on here with me, having to listen to my stupid jokes and corny comments. Great stuff. Teddy Covers, thank you. Drew Martin, thank you. Donnie Rightside, thank you. We'll see you back here Saturday where we do another Big Man's Bracket Busters. Have a great time. Enjoy the tournament. Bye-bye.
Intertops and BetOnline are proud sponsors of this year's March Madness coverage at sportsbookreview.com.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh,
Thank you.